Welcome, viewers. I am Shannon Joy McKeel. I am the host of the SQV Conversation, where we honor the small, quiet voice by speaking to very interesting people and people that are a little different from the rest. So today I have an amazing woman with me. Her name is Christy Rutherford, and she's a speaker, executive coach. She's an author, 17 books, and she was in the Coast Guard for many years as a powerhouse. She's very well known. With me today is Christy Rutherford. Thank you for being on the SQV.
Yay, I'm excited to be here, Shannon. Can't wait to share with your audience.
Awesome. Well, I always like to talk about where people are coming from. The power of Zoom is that I could be in sunny Florida and you might be in Oklahoma. We don't know where you're at. So tell us a little bit about your environment.
Okay. I live on the beach in the Bahamas. The ocean is right there. And I got stuck here during COVID. So I left for a 2-week vacation, March 2020. And when they shut the borders, they ordered all Americans to come home. If we wanted to get back in, I was already gone. I just didn't come back because I left Chicago. Okay. 7 degrees, ice. I hated my life. Vitamin D deficient. I was like, that's a thing. That's real. So yeah, so I didn't come back. And then, Coach 2020 just drug out forever. And then I just stayed here. So that's
wow. You're lucky. Like you got something really good out of that global pandemic.
Sure did. I was on the beach making videos. People thought it was like a Zoom background. I'm like, I am not on Zoom.
I love it. I love it so much. So you're in Nassau?
I am. Mm-hmm.
Okay. That's so wonderful. Well, good for you, girl. Good for you. So when you sit around the table, who's there with you?
Me,
myself, and I. Any dogs or cats?
It's a great place to be.
You're a free agent. You don't have any pets or anything?
Nope.
Holy moly. I don't even know what that looks like. I have
nieces, nephews, cousins. Yeah. Dating. Yeah. It's great. Mm-hmm.
Good. Yeah. And I know that people love you and I know that you're doing awesome things in your career. So let's talk a little bit about your time in the military. I'm kind of curious why you joined and what you found and kind of your struggles and the lessons you learned while you were in the Coast Guard.
That's a lot. So to wrap this up in 90 seconds, I joined the Coast Guard while I was in college. They had they were recruit minority officers, praise the Lord. And when I joined, I think it may have been 15 to 20 Black female officers. Out of 47,000 people. And so I joined when I was in college through a program, went to college, graduated, went to officer candidate school. And what's interesting is, I don't know I've grown up in a small town in South Carolina, but the challenges of being one of 20 Black female officers out of 47,000 people, it was challenging, right? And, to fit in. And so, but the first unit I had exceptional leaders, but the military, people leave and new people come in. So we had the exceptional people, and then the questionable people came in. Then I left there, went to a job. I had an exceptional boss, and then the a-holes, and then I left to go to the next place. So we moved every 2 to 3 years. So I'll have this yin and yang of super exceptional, phenomenal bosses, straight a-holes, exceptional a-holes, exceptional a-holes. And so just like, if you put a nail in a wall, and you take it out, the hole is still there. So it was a compound effect over time of expecting to be disrespected, expecting to fight, expecting, and I love my career. I did exceptional things, chased drug runners in the Caribbean, responded to the needs of, the people of New Orleans during Hurricane Katrina. I worked on Capitol Hill for 3 years. So I had all these amazing experiences, and I worked 80 hours a week, went to all the Christmas parties, said all the right things, laughed at all the jokes. And, but I was suffering so much. And I couldn't tell anybody because now I'm one of 50 Black female officers, and I'm Lieutenant Commander Christy Rutherford, and I have the job that I fought for, and I got my seat at the table, and Nightmare on Elm Street started every morning at 8:00 in the morning, and I wasn't expecting that. Like we're told as women to get our seat at the table, and we fight and we claw and we work and we prove, and we got 1,000,000 degrees, and we do all these things, and I finally got my seat at the table, and I was like, I hate it here. Like, how can I go back? And you can't go back because it's hierarchical. How can I'm now at the top of the mountain. The air is thin. I'm paranoid. I'm miserable. I hate my life. And I just want to crawl down the backside of the mountain and just disappear. But at that point, I had about 16 years in. 16 and a half was when I resigned. But 16 is when I really became aware of my misery. But I only had 4 years left to retire. So in comes the dilemma. Dun, dun, dun. So that's where we are.
So you retired at 16 years.
I resigned.
So you did not get your retirement.
No, I didn't get my retirement because I was going to my last toxic boss who came in, he harassed me and he told me that he was going to destroy me. And, there are two truths that were going on, Shannon, right? Like, one truth was he was a psychopath and he was toxic and I'm fighting every day, but he was a equal opportunity harasser. So as I'm reaching out to my mentors, because I had a lot of them, and I'm reaching out to senior leadership because I knew them. And I'm like, y'all need to come manage this guy because he was a known destroyer of people's careers. And I've done all these things. And 16 years of walking a fine tightrope and doing all the right things. And so it's like, y'all are going to let this man, one person, destroy me because he has an ego problem. And they were like, well, Christy filed a civil rights complaint. I'm like, it's not civil rights. He's not harassing me because I'm a black woman. He harasses white men. Right.
And by the time, he's getting away with it.
And by the time I go through the full process, right, I'm already crazy and stressed out. And I hadn't managed my stress for 15 years and I was sick. And, I was in the emergency room every 2 weeks with flu-like symptoms. I'm having panic attacks. I had anxiety. My stomach is hurting. I have headaches. So physically I'm shutting down while I'm trying to fight for what's right. And then, he's harassing the guys who work for me. I'm a leader. So it was a whole hot mess. And so I left, or I was going to die. I was literally going to work myself to death. And so when I look at women today who were caught in these toxic work environments and they die there, they just don't know that there's a better way. They just don't understand that they need to bet all chips on themselves and let go of the illusion of what they thought, what their life should be, or what somebody owes them. And so we are dying in toxic workplaces because we feel like they owe us something, but we're still dead. So so that's why I resigned.
So is this topic matter in your books?
Mm-hmm.
Love it.
Yep.
I love it. It's so profound. And it happens to so many of us. I last April, I couldn't get off the kitchen floor and I had high blood pressure and I was having a panic attack and I go, what is happening? But it was the combination of 10 years of working for jerk bosses, resigning from jobs because, in the Coast Guard, you really can't resign.
Nope.
They might put you somewhere else if you're lucky. But, I was like, I'm not putting up with this. I'm not in the military anymore. I did 8 years in the Air Force. I'm like, I now work for a corrupt boss. Now that I've been here a year, I understand how this works and I'm not going to be a part of it anymore. So I ended up leaving a lot of different places and trying to find a better fit, trying to find a more morally adjusted, culture led by people that cared. And it was impossible to find. And I did find, I had some good bosses, but most of them were just bad. So I quit my job and wrote my book and decided to bet everything on myself. My husband has been really supportive. And so for the past year, we've been gambling on my ability to build something special. And since I've been building processes throughout my entire career and really tuning into empathy and workplace culture and all the good things that we need to pour into people, I started to distill what is it? Because it's not really remote versus working in corporate, in the office. To me, it really wasn't ever about that. I didn't mind. Either one was pretty fine. I mean, everybody likes being at home. You save money, you save gas, you save makeup. It's just good. You're more efficient. And people talk about AI and how important it is and how I'm like, yeah, but you're also frying people and you're fundamentally breaking people and you're killing them because the cortisol levels build up in your body. And we all know what the end result of high cortisol level is. It's cancer or heart attacks. So I want to talk a little bit about your health in that last year or two, because it's worth talking about. And then what changed when you got out of the military and decided to do your own thing?
I ended up meeting a guy who was with the network marketing company, and I was a hot mess, right? Because I didn't, and I'm calling everybody, and everybody's letting me down, and I didn't know the way out, and I was praying for a way out, and I applied to be FLOTUS at the time, Michelle Obama's military aide, right? And Yeah. And so I'm just like, or her fellow, like I'm doing everything to try to get out of this toxic scenario. And so I remember being at this car wash because I didn't know a way out. And I met this guy and he told me he sold coffee. I was like, get out. Like, no way. But he was so happy. And so I was disgustingly happy. And I was so miserable and dark. And so the next day I called him. I woke up and I'm like, oh my God, this guy was so happy. If he sells hammers, I want that joy. And so I ended up going to this network marketing meeting and everybody was happy. I'm like, oh my God, it's like this magical happy land of happy people who are going forward. And so 2 weeks later, I ended up having a blow up meeting with my boss that I couldn't recover from. Basically, I let his ASS have it. Like I couldn't take being harassed anymore. And he thought I was just going to take it. And I just, you know how we do. I went all the way off and I couldn't recover from it. Anyway, so I resigned and then, worked with this network marketing company. And there's a yin and a yang to everything, right? It was great because, I started to hang around people who were highly personally developed. And I started to, in the military, we only hang around each other. And so now I don't have any of my military friends because they thought I was stupid for leaving. My family thought I was crazy for leaving. And so I'm around this whole new group of people who don't know me, who can accept me at the appraised value, right, of who I am today. So they were telling me things about myself that I couldn't see because everybody around me was struggling. Like all of my friends were suffering. Like that was normal for us to be like that. And so when I think about, the increased appraised value of what we have in the market, we can't see it because we're around the same people. So, but what I didn't do, I didn't slow down to address my mental health. I didn't slow down to address my physical health because now I've left my good, delicious $125,000 secure salary that I get paid on the 1st and 15th without fail. And to, I had about 6 figures saved to build a business on dust because I was dust when I left. And so about 18 months later, then I fully collapsed mentally and physically, and I lost everything. And so I had been offered about 20 jobs at that point, but I knew that I was sick. And if I didn't stop, I was going to work myself to death in a different way. Right. And so I moved in with my brother and I thought that it would take me 2 months to recover, but I didn't know how broken I was, Shannon, until I stopped. And it took me 3.5 years to recover mentally and 7 years to recover financially. That could have been preventable had I done something before I left my career to address my mental health. Or if I'm going to leave my career, I needed to stop long enough to fix myself first before I tried to build a business on brokenness. And that was a disaster.
Yeah, it's hard to build a business on brokenness. And I feel like I've done that because we know what needs to be different and we have a voice now and we're talking to people about it. We're writing books. And I don't think that's a bad thing. I think that people want to hear our testimonies and they want to know that we've been through the fire.
Well, I think you can build it on brokenness, telling your story, but you being healed from a place of wholeness is what I'm talking about. Right? Because at a certain point, the deck of cards is going to collapse. I'm saying this from experience. And if we don't learn how to, the challenge with high achieving women is we know how to work harder to prove you wrong, point blank, period.
Oh yeah.
And that habit, the compound effect of that over time is what creates the collapse. And because we're so accustomed to working harder and pushing and pushing and pushing, we don't know that we're creating more breaking until we break. That's the problem.
So those 3 years you were with your brother and you said you were mentally healing, take me down that path. What did that look like? And how did you know that you were healed? Because we're always evolving, right?
It was a lot. It was so much. The first thing I had to do was stop avoiding the truth, which was I was broken. That was one. And stop avoiding the, I can point the fingers at my boss. Yeah, it was true, but was also true before. My forest had been on fire for 15 years before he arrived. I never stopped long enough to be able to address my mental and my physical health. I never stopped long enough to be able to take care of myself. I didn't have time to work out. I didn't have time to meditate. I didn't have time to do yoga. I didn't like, happy people. I didn't have time to eat healthy. Stressed out people don't crave bananas. You be like, oh my God, I'm so stressed out. I can't wait to get an apple. No, we don't crave that. We crave
Doritos.
cheesy, greasy. Yeah, you know, my vice was Waffle House and Chick-fil-A. And so it's like to take accountability for how I was showing up and understanding that the cavalry was not going to come for me. The cavalry was not responsible for my mental and my physical health. Like you know, and
you are the cavalry.
Exactly. Right. And so a lot of people always talk about what managers should be doing to maintain, to manage their people's mental and physical health. I'm like, managers are crazy too. They're not responsible for it and they're not coming. And so a part of being my brother's house was I had to take full responsibility for, because as an entrepreneur, you're your boss. You can't point a finger at anybody else if you're failing. Yeah. And so once I started to do that, now what had happened, Shannon, in 2009, I wrote a vision for how I wanted my life to be, messing around with Oprah. And so I was like, I want my office to be outside. And when I retire, I want I want to be of service, greater service to people. And I want to travel and I want to do these things. And I want to be free and I want to live on the beach and I want to do all these other kind of things. By simple law of attraction, I wrote it down. I used to say it and I could see this future self. By law of attraction, it's the three most powerful things you can do to activate law of attraction. So the universe, God, whatever you want to call it, infinite intelligence, created the circumstances to give me what I asked for. I got what I wanted. It just didn't come in the time that I wanted it. And so while I'm secretly suffering at my desk on Friday night at 11 o'clock, because somebody legit, when I was supposed to go to a happy hour with my friends playing about their jobs, of course, somebody called their senator on me because I wouldn't let them bring explosives in and like leave them. Right. So crazy. And so they called their senator on me and it's 11 o'clock at night on Friday night. I'm sitting in my office hating my life and legit working. And I remember leaning back in my chair and I could see this person that I wanted to be. So I used to always visualize this life of reprieve and peace and joy and harmony while I lived in hell, not knowing that I could have this too. Like I could create that. And that's what I didn't have. And that's why I do what I do, because I couldn't create that harmony in my present hell. Oh, that was good. So it's like to take accountability for that, one, stop avoiding the truth, two, and then I started to study super successful people and see that we all successful people have been through something. And then I started to build my house, I call it my life on principle-based leadership, right? Like if I understand, I'm obsessed with Napoleon Hill. Most successful people do the exact same things, super successful people, but we don't know it. And we're typically in our own heads because we're the outliers in a lot of scenarios. But once I started to read and study, did that, I did a lot of, I slept for the first year. I did a lot of studying. I was still pouring and giving. And then it just took time to be able to repair and rebuild myself. But it became through stop avoiding the truth, be willing to tell the truth, and be willing to do the work to address what I was too afraid to look at. I was scared to make certain decisions. And so once I didn't have anything, I was forced to now run through all the mental blocks of what's impossible or what I couldn't do. And I had 27 medical conditions when I left, and I never applied for the VA benefits, Shannon. I had a guy fill out my paperwork. I was 100% can't work. I never turned it in because if I turn in this paperwork, then, and I get $3,000 a month or $3,600 a month or whatever it is, that was going to make me comfortable, just comfortable enough not to do the work to dig myself out of the hole that I had dug for myself. And one of the things that Napoleon Hill says is you have to burn all sources of retreat, and only with that, burn all your bridges. And only with that state of mind can you basically catapult to be where you're supposed to be. So yeah, so that just took time.
It's a wonderful story. And I'm sure that you share that on stage all the time. It's a beautiful story. And I've picked up so many nuggets. It's such a good thing. So let's talk about, where you've been since you got out of the Coast Guard and how your career has blossomed. Obviously, you took the time to heal and you've been writing about your experiences, and the messages are resonating. You're one of the most highly demanded, women speakers in our country right now. And I'm so proud of you, girl. I'm so proud.
Thank you. What did we do? Okay, so I left in 27. So I ended up going to Harvard Business School in 2016 to the program for leadership development, because here I am, this world-renowned military officer who's amazing, who's done all these great things. And, we were talking earlier about how I mentored 90 officers, but a lot of Black officers in my career, because I wanted to change the dynamics. We weren't being promoted at the same levels of our counterparts. And so I ended up, but I didn't speak civilian, from a military perspective.
A little different.
I didn't speak corporate. So I couldn't sell being a coach because I didn't speak the language. And so I ended up getting in the Harvard Business School program for leadership development. I told the program manager, I'm like, look, okay, so you're asking me about my present moment, and I have nothing. I used to be somebody, right? Like, you can Google me. I'm Googleable. I'm all over Google. You can give me 6 pages of what Christy Rutherford has done in the U.S. Coast Guard. I have a vision for what I want to create in the future, but I'm in the middle.
Yeah.
And so anyway, got in, learned the language, 2017 graduated, and then I've taken 3 negotiations classes, women on boards. Like, I just took a lot of classes to try to translate, Shannon. You talked about earlier of doing systems, like, what did my military experience, how does that equate to this world? Right. So
a lot of veterans really struggle with how they're going to be applicable. And that's one of my missions, is to try to get veterans to be able to get a job that is fulfilling on the outside or start a company. It's really important.
Yeah. Yeah. So that was 2017, 2018, still crawling out, still trying to put it all together, hired a couple of coaches. So we did okay, 2018, 2019. 2020 was a blessing for me, because that's when women were locked in the house and figured out that they were stressed out. And what I wanted when I first started my company, I was talking about how to not burn out and how to not be stressed out, and how to restore yourself and how to refresh yourself and how to renew yourself. Nobody wanted that. And so once I got my first 2 clients, and then they got raises, and then the next 3 clients got raises, I was like, oh, okay. So if you do refresh yourself and restore yourself and shift your perspective, you're going to get money. So I started to lead with the money piece. So we've done $15 million in salary raises since 2020. We've doubled 25 women's salaries. We've tripled 13. 7 women got 7-figure packages. 30 women got 30% raises. We've saved 25 marriages. We've kept hundreds of kids out of therapy talking about their moms. We've saved 12 dying to having nervous breakdowns. We've gotten 25 women off of high blood pressure medication, diabetes medication, lupus, fibroids, like all these things. But I lead with what women want, but then we give them what they need. So, and the money is a part of it, but I'm not going to clap for the money if you got a $400,000 raise, which one of my clients did. But when we started, her and her husband was sleeping in the same bed. So I'm not going to clap for you if you get the money, but if you lose your house. So we don't understand that we can't have it all. And it doesn't take that long, because our process is about 8 weeks. We have everything, Shannon. It's all like this. We have to pull it apart and then reshuffle it a little bit and be like, this is, you can be healthy, happy, free, joyous, successful, have more money, and have the capacity for higher levels of leadership if you learn how to take care of yourself. And I think the self-care piece is the biggest part of what we do.
That's awesome. I'm so glad you're bringing this message to the masses, because it's, the one-on-one is really wonderful, but to be able to tell everybody and kind of bless them in a couple hours on stage and to have those conversations and start the dialogue is so, so important. So if people want to hire you to be a one-on-one coach, or they want to hire you in some type of a speaking engagement, how would they find you? What's the best way to reach out?
You can connect me on LinkedIn or Instagram, but the best way to reach out, you can get my insight at changenow@withchristy.com, or you can text change now to 66866 to be able to join our email list, get my emails, get my insight, learn about what we do, how we do it. And then I don't do one-on-one, I do group. It's great because we need community. We're so lonely in leadership that we need to be around other people and know that, the woman that you're sitting beside that you admire, who has everything that you want, she's suffering too. And once we're able to open up and see that in other people, it allows us to not beat ourselves up about our current circumstance. But text change now to 66866. That's the best way to reach me, or connect with me on LinkedIn.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Christy. I'm going to join these groups. This sounds like a transformative thing for any woman that is trying to get to the next level in her career. Entrepreneurs, I'm sure you've helped a few of those along the way as well. So
yeah, entrepreneurs. We have one of my clients, she wanted to quit her job. I'm like, don't quit your job. Not broken. And then she left 3 months later, once we got her all cleaned up. But she did $200,000 in contracts in 3 weeks. She'll do $1 million this year, and her job was paying her 150. So
Awesome.
yeah, we do entrepreneurs too.
Awesome. All right. Well, I might be giving you a call because that sounds like some of the business I might need. So anyway, Christy, this has been joyous and inspired, and I appreciate all that you've done for our country and all that you're doing for people now. Any final thoughts, any aha moments that we've talked about that you want to recap?
Yeah, I want to thank you for, asking the questions and bringing your work to the world, and thank you for your service and the things that you do. And it's so much more for us on the other side of ourselves. And so 70% of my clients don't leave their jobs. And to be an entrepreneur, you have to be a little crazy, right? But I believe in, expressing the greater parts of who we are, if that's through entrepreneurship or commanding a higher value in the workplace. But I just want women to know that you can be happy. You can be whole. You can have everything that you want, but it's about, not avoiding the hard stuff and the hard conversations and making the decision to do the hard thing that scares you. And that's where we need a little bit of accountability, because we are everyone else's superwoman and we don't have anybody. And so when Superwoman gets in trouble, nobody hears the Superwoman who's suffering because, like, how dare you not be what I need? How dare you not be, the powerful woman that I know you are? So a lot of people aren't ready for Superwoman to be human. And so I always say we're where Superwomen come to rest, because we're tired too, but we can't tell anybody. So, if you are tired, I just want you to give yourself permission to take your cape off, because that's going to save your life.